So hello, my name is Omar Abasad. It is 7:57 p.m. August 2nd, 2021. So I'm using a different camera. Looks a little bit darker than it actually is. It's not picking up the light of the other camera. So anyway, do the best we can here. So before I start, I was going to read an article for you that is actually in the government website, Canada, the Canadian government website. So before I do that, I'm going to start this camera infrared to track the temperature from start to finish. So it's 7:58 p.m. right now. I have the microwave detector pointing to myself. So I'm going to track that. I have the ECG monitor on. That's the electrodes. And I have the oximeter. So I'm going to, while I'm on camera, I'm going to track these vitals, and I'm going to post it when I'm done. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to read an article, and I didn't read all of this. I just scanned it through very, very quickly. So let me just bring up this website. So so I just got hit on the nose. So Horizons, and somebody knocked and loaded off in perfect synchronization. Horizons.gc.ca. So it's Policy Horizons Canada exploring biodigital convergence, and it's dated February 11th, 2020. So what happens when biology and digital technology merge? So the table of contents read, what is biodigital convergence? Why explore the biodigital convergence now? Good morning, biodigital. What new capabilities arise from biodigital convergence? What are possible characteristics of the biodigital system? What are some initial policy questions in conclusion? So I'm not going to read all of it, just selected sections. And I'm going to do that selection as I scan it through. As I said, I didn't read it word for word. So forward, in the coming years, biodigital technologies could be woven into our lives in the way that digital technologies are now. Biological and digital systems are converging and could change the way we work, live, and even evolve as a species. This is echoing what the World Economic Forum said, Klaus Schwab. So you see the uniformity of the whole thing, it's global. More than a technological change, this bio-digital convergence may transform the way we understand ourselves and cause us to redefine what we consider human or natural. Biodigital convergence may profoundly impact our economy. Well, we're definitely seeing it here. So when was this written again? February 11, 2020. Okay. Very recent. So biodigital convergence may profoundly impact our economy, our ecosystems, and our society. Being prepared to support it while managing its risks with care and sensitivity will shape the way we navigate social and ethical considerations, as well as guide policy and governance conversations. Guided by its mandate, Policy Horizons Canada Policy Horizons Canada is just another name for World Economic Forum or a subset of it, subsidiary of it, because the World Economic Forum is a private corporation. So the thinking is along the same lines. So think private and public, quote unquote, corporation. One word comes to mind is fascism, for me personally, that is. Guided by its mandate, Policy Horizons Canada intends to start an informed and meaningful dialogue about plausible futures for biodigital convergence and the policy questions that may arise. In this initial paper, we define and explore biodigital convergence, why it is important to explore now its characteristics, what new capabilities could arise from it, and some initial policy implications. We want to engage with a broad spectrum of partners and stakeholders on what our biodigital future might look like, how this convergence might affect sectors and industries, and how our relationships with technology, nature, and even life could evolve. Okay, so we welcome our comments and participation, blah, blah. Okay, summary. So in the late 1970s and early 1980s, Canadians and policymakers began to understand that the digital age was upon us. Early movers seized opportunities, grappled with challenges, and initiated deft policies that have provided benefits for decades. We continue to see the powerful effects of digitization, and more are surely to come. But we may be on the cusp of another disruption of similar magnitude. I think we're there. Digital technologies and biological systems are beginning to combine and merge in ways that could be profoundly disruptive to our assumptions about society, the economy, and our bodies. We call this the biodigital convergence, our bodies. This paper sets out an initial framing to guide Policy Horizons' upcoming foresight work. So 3 ways biodigital convergence is emerging. Number 1, full physical integration of biological and digital entities. 2, co-evolution of biological and digital technologies. And 3, conceptual convergence of biological and digital systems. So biodigital convergence is opening up striking new ways to change human beings, our bodies, minds, and behavior. That's a very important point. Change or create other organisms. Again, another very important point. Change or create other organisms. We are right now taking a vaccine that has been mislabeled as a vaccine, in my opinion, because really it is gene therapy. It's changing, it's hacking your genes or your genetic system, if not the DNA directly. Alter ecosystems, sense, store, process, and transmit information. And by that I mean, and this is not misinformation. What I'm saying, it's not, hopefully it's not being misunderstood what I'm saying. The mRNA vaccine is putting genetic material into our cells. So therefore, it's a form of gene therapy. And that's a fact, not misinformation. So I hope YouTube doesn't kick me off, as they did so many other people. So sense, store, process, and transmit information, manage biological innovation, structure and manage production and supply chains. So possible characteristics of the biodigital system: democratization, decentralization, geographic diffusion, scalability, customization, reliance on data. Okay, so this is the scope of the report. Just laying down the scope, which will give you a good idea of where it's headed. So initial policy relevant questions. Economic, could transitional resource-based competitive advantages fade? Okay, so it goes into a lot of detail here. Social, environmental, could social attitudes shift towards health and lifestyle? Well, we're seeing that shift right now. What policies could help address health inequality? What policies could foster trust among partners and stakeholders? So environmental, geopolitical, what policies are necessary to compete in a global biodigital world? What is needed to protect citizen security in the biodigital world? So we're going to have a global ID. So governance, so tax framework, public finance systems, social concerns. Without reading all of it. So skipping ahead here, policy horizons is examining 3 ways in which this convergence is happening. Number 1, full physical integration of biological and digital entities. So digital technology can be embedded in organisms, and biological components can exist as parts of digital technologies. The physical meshing, manipulating, and merging of the biological and digital are creating new hybrid forms of life and technology, each functioning in the tangible world, often with heightened capabilities. Robots with biological brains and biological bodies with digital brains, so both ways. Robots with biological brains, think about that. A robot with a human brain, and biological bodies with digital brains. A human body with a brain chip already exist. Already exist. Okay? Hold that thought in mind. It already exists. Do you ever hear this in the mainstream media? No, but it's embedded in the government website. As do human, computer, and brain machine interfaces. Okay, so let me read that again for you. Robots with biological brains, meaning that they actually physically took somebody's brain. Hopefully he passed away, or she, and put this brain into a robot. And they actually have a human being so instead of a brain chip, let's say they put a mini computer in there, which is probably really a lot of chips in your brain, in a human brain, maybe. Don't know exactly how it's done, but I'm suggesting ways that the way it could possibly have been done. Since that already exist, as do human computer and brain machine interfaces. Well, we know about that, and that's being talked about all the time. The medical use of digital devices in humans, as well as digitally manipulated insects such as dragonflies, and surveillance locusts are examples of digital technology being combined with biological entities. By tapping into the nervous system and manipulating neurons, tech can be added to an organism to alter its function and purpose. Tapping into the nervous system. Right. So new human bodies and new senses of identity could arise as the convergence continue. New human bodies and new senses of identity could arise as the convergence continues. So as I'm reading this, there is something that comes to mind. I was walking, this was about 2 years ago. I was walking in the park, and I had this fly, and I thought it was bigger than normal, follow me around and was always buzzing around my feet, both my feet. And I kept shooting this fly away. I thought it was a fly. I shoot it. So I started walking on the path, and 15 minutes later, I was still shooing this fly away. The exact same fly kept following me through the park for a full hour and a half walk until I almost reached back home, and then it disappeared. Same fly. Have you ever heard of a fly doing that? No. It was a drone. It was not a fly. Coevolution, coevolution of biological and digital technologies. This type of biodigital convergence emerges when advances in one domain generate major advances in the other. The coevolution of biological and digital sciences and technologies enables progress in each domain that would be impossible otherwise. This could lead to biological and digital technologies that are developed as integrated or complementary systems. So complex living systems, bacteria, fungi, plants, and animal life, including humans, are increasingly subject to examination and understanding by digital tools and applications such as machine learning. This deeper understanding enabled by digital technologies means that biology is subject to influence and manipulation that was not possible a few years ago. For example, gene sequencing. Isn't that relevant to today's world? For example, gene sequencing combined with artificial intelligence, AI, leads to understanding genetic expression, which is then used to alter existing organisms to create organic compounds in new ways, or even entirely synthetic organisms. Okay? Let me read that for you again. For example, gene sequencing combined with artificial intelligence, AI, leads to understanding genetic expression, which is then used to alter existing organisms. Repeat, which is then used to alter existing organisms, gene therapy, genetic manipulation, those are my words, to create organic compounds in new ways, or even entirely synthetic organisms. The CRISPR/Cas9 approach and other new gene editing technologies would have been impossible without the evolution of digital technology and bioinformatics. Advances in digital technologies have helped the advancement of biodigital. We also see a greater understanding of biology, which is fueling progress in the field of biological computing. So, of course, I'm using some of that technology. Good things, right? But as all other technologies, it needs to be policed to make sure it's not abused. My comment. Neural nets, computer systems that are designed based on biological brains, are an example of how biological understanding is shaping digital technology. So Elon Musk, the neural network on the brain. So that was being experimented with years before. It's been talked about now so openly in the government website. There is also a blurring between what is considered a natural or organic and what is digital, engineered, or synthetic. For example, biosynthetic vanilla is created using ferulic acid, eugenol, and glucose as substrates, and bacteria, fungi, and yeasts as microbial production hosts. Although it does not come from a vanilla plant, under both US and EU food legislation, its production from microbial transformations of natural precursors allows it to be labeled as a natural flavoring. Microbial transformations of natural precursors uh, allows it to be labeled as a natural flavor. You go to the grocery store and you think you're getting vanilla. Unbelievable. Number three, conceptual convergence of biological and digital systems. Like I said, my comment, there is a line where technology and this convergence that you're talking about here, there is a line that should not be crossed. Of course, there's a lot of discussions about where that line lies, and everybody will have a different idea of where that line lies. But if you brought everybody down to conscience, a level of consciousness that in which your consciousness, your conscience, your sense of right and wrong, um, good or bad, evil and good, which we all have as organic human beings. And this is, of course, speaking to our souls, which we all have, whether we admit it or not. If we think from that level of consciousness, we're all going to come up with the same idea of where that line lies. When it's crossed, you'd know because you would feel it inside. Something inside of you is going to, I'm just going to sting in the eye. Something inside of you will reject the idea if you think with your soul. And yes, I'm going to use the term soul because it needs to be talked about in this day and age. Because right now it's being suppressed, right? Churches and temples are all being closed. And there is in my opinion, we are getting, as a society, we're getting away from things like going to church and speaking about a God. It's all about science. So number three, conceptual convergence of biological and digital systems. The third form of biodigital convergence involves a shift in perspective that could reshape our framing and approach to biological and digital realms, facilitating the blending of the two. So it's a shift, the paradigm shift in thinking, my translation of that. As we continue to better understand and control the mechanisms that underlie biology, we could see a shift away from vitalism, the idea that living and non-living organisms are fundamentally different because they are thought to be governed by different principles. Instead, the idea of biology as having predictable and digitally manageable characteristics may become increasingly common as a result of living in a biodigital age. Any student of biology today will have grown up in a digital world and may consciously or subconsciously apply that frame of reference to bioinformatics and biology generally. So let me just go back here. There is something here that caught my attention. A lot of pretty words here, but let me see. So as we continue to better understand and control the mechanisms that underlie biology, keyword there, control. We are controlling our biology. We could see a shift away from vitalism. So I've never heard that word before. Vitalism, I never used it. Vitalism, the idea that living and non-living organisms are fundamentally different because they are taught to be governed by different principles. Instead, the idea of biology as having predictable and digitally manageable characteristics may become increasingly common as a result of living in a biodigital age. In other words, anything organic could be controlled digitally. It can be digitized and it can be controlled digitally. You think about that. Everything in our world, trees, plants, food, you, animals, everything can be digitized. But not only digitized, controlled. So vitalism, we are shifting away from vitalism. Like I said, a lot of pretty words. So you could substitute vitalism for human or organic or natural. Pretty words, lots of pretty words. This is what governments do, right? From a digital perspective, we see a potential shift in the opposite direction. Computing began as a means of producing predictable, replicable, and relatively simple outcomes. As digital technology became more complex and connected, the system began to mimic the characteristics of the biological world, leading to the notion of technological ecosystems. Biological models are also being used to develop digital tools, such as AI based on neural nets. In other words, the potential shift in opposite direction is we created the computer, and now the computer is going to turn around and control us and create us. What bullshit. I'm sorry. Okay. Let me rephrase that. What I mean by that is I'm all for computers helping us like this. This is great. But when it comes to the point where it's flipped and we're told that, oh, we have this humongous computer with all these capabilities, and now the computer is going to turn around and tell us what to do, that's bullshit, in my humble opinion. So 3 ways biodigital convergence is emerging. Full physical integration of biological and digital entities. So some of this, maybe that's just a recap. So just gonna skip that. So why explore biodigital convergence? I'm not going to get into that. I'll let you read that. Just a bit of history. Okay, so good morning. Just a little bit of this one here, this section. Good morning, biodigital. So I wake up. Many factors could affect how biodigital convergence technologies could impact different societies, countries, cultures, environments, and people around the world. The following is one of the many possible narratives depicting some of the innovations in a future biodigital world. I wake up in the sunlight and salty coastal air of the Adriatic Sea. I don't live anywhere near the Mediterranean, but my AI, which is also my health advisor, has prescribed a specific air quality, scent, and solar intensity to manage my energy levels in the morning, and has programmed my bedroom to mimic this climate. See where this is going? In other words, you're going to be living in your head. You don't need to go in that specific location near the Mediterranean. You can create that environment around you and in your head, inside of your head. The fresh bed sheets grown in my building from regenerating fungi, again, there's that word, fungi, are better than I imagined. I feel rested and ready for the day. I need to check a few things before I get up. I send a brain message to open the app that controls my insulin levels and make sure my pancreas is optimally supported. Okay, so I guess if you have diabetes, maybe that would work for you. I can't imagine having to inject myself with needles like my mother did when she was a child. Now it's a microbe transplant that auto-adjusts and reports on my levels. Wow, a microbe. It's not a chip, it's a microbe. Everything looks all right. So I checked my brain's digital interface to read the dream data that was recorded and processed in real time last night. Oh, look at this. I have an ECG that I analyzed, that I wear during the night. My therapy app analyzes the emotional responses I expressed while I sleep. Okay, so I don't analyze my dreams yet. It suggests I do analyze my sleep patterns, though. It suggests I take time to be in nature this week to reflect on my recurring trapped in a box dream. and, and, and enhance my recurring trapped in a box dream. Definitely, you'd be trapped in your box, in a box, so the box will be in your head. And enhance helpful subconscious neural activity. My AI recommends a forest day, and I think, okay, and my AI and neural implant do the rest. So again, the control is being taken away from you, right? The AI tells you what your status is, your emotional status or your sleep status or your energy level, prescribes what you need to come up to optimal level on all of these factors, and then creates in your mind what the AI thinks is going to help you. You'll be living in your head. Keep in mind that somebody else is controlling this as well. You do not have the control. Somebody else has the control. A supercomputer, when you're hooked up to the cloud, will be controlling this and have access to the information that you're generating. In other words, you'll be data mined. Everything about you will be data mined. Your sleep, your energy levels, your emotional state, your all your vitals, every secretions that your organs, every organ in your body manufactures, like your estrogen level, your testosterone level, insulin level, all your adrenal glands, your cortisol level, the pituitary glands, hormones, all these things will be monitored. You'll be data mined, and you'll be micromanaged. So AI will determine what is optimal level for you, your body, and it will adjust your body to suit what it thinks it should be. So, in other words, you're not a human being anymore. You are a robot being managed by another robot. Human beings were not intended to live this way. It's possible, absolutely, it's possible. But is it right? Should it be done? Of course, it should not be done. So, my AI recommends a forest day, and I think, okay, and my AI a neural implant to do the rest. In other words, you're a robot. The summary of my bug butt surveillance footage shows, keep in mind, this is on your government website. This is on the Canadian government website. The footage shows that my apartment was safe from intruders, including other bug butts last night, but it does notify me that my herd of little cyber dragonflies are hungry. They've been working hard collecting data and monitoring the outside environment all night, but the number of mosquitoes and line-carrying ticks they normally hunt to replenish their energy was smaller than expected. With a thought, I ordered some nutrient support for them. My feet hit the regenerative carpet, and I grab a bathrobe, although I don't need it for warmth. My apartment is gradually warming up to a comfortable 22 degrees as it cycles through a constantly shifting daily routine that keeps me in balance with the time of day and season. Building codes and home energy infrastructure are synchronized and require all homes to be auto-regulated for efficiency because houses and buildings are biomimetic and incorporate living systems for climate control wherever possible. They are continuously filtering the air and capturing carbon. I checked my carbon offset measure to see how much credit I will receive for my home's contribution to the government's climate change mitigation program. There you go, carbon credit, folks. Right now, only companies are trading them. So I think from from what I read, companies are given certain amount of credits, and if they don't use it, they can trade them. They don't use them up. They can sell them. As I head to the bathroom, I pause at the window to check the accelerated growth of the neighboring building. Biological architecture has reached new heights, and the synthetic tree compounds are growing taller each day. To ensure that the building can withstand even the strongest winds, and to reduce swaying for residents on the top floors, a robotic 3D printer is clambering around the emerging structure and adding carbon reinforced biopolymer, strengthening critical stress points identified by its AI supported sensor array. I am glad they decided to tree the roof of this building with fire resistant, genetically modified red cedar, since urban forest fires have become a concern. So can you imagine if if the power grid goes down? SOL, folks. Pull the power and SOL. This is what Klaus Schwab talks about, right? So we are going to be in this system that's coming very soon because we are putting the groundwork now in. And you're going to be plugged into the system. And what happens if the grid goes down? You will die, basically, right? Because everything needs power. While I'm brushing my teeth, Jamie, my personal AI, asked if I'd like a delivery drone to come pick up my daughter's baby tooth, which fell out 2 days ago. The epigenetic markers in children's teeth have to be analyzed and cataloged on our family genetic blockchain in order to qualify for the open health rebate. So I need that done today. Blockchains, folks, will be a currency instead of money. In other words, you're selling your data. This is not living. This is not human being. First of all, they're changing us into machines. And then we're going to be plugged into the system and we'll be treated as machines and we'll be living like machines. So tell me again why we were born into this earth with everything organic. If we were meant to be machines, why are we in an organic world? If we were meant to be machines, we would be in a machine world, right? We are born as organic human beings with a soul. This is what I'm reading here goes against the laws of the universe. Never mind. And of course, they're getting away from religion and the idea that we have a soul. Because if we go this route, it is accepted that we don't have souls, right? It'd be one of the conditions upon this. One of the givens would be that we do not have souls, and we don't have the right to develop ourselves to our full capability as human beings. Somebody else have that right. And it's going to be given to a supercomputer that's going to make all your decisions for you. And you're going to be managed, micromanaged down to your very DNA. Never mind your actions and your breathing. You'll be managed down to your DNA. Your DNA will be managed. You think about that. This is not about enslavement. This is about incorporation. Okay? I replaced the smart sticker that monitors my blood chemistry, lymphatic system, and organ function in real time. It's hard to imagine the costs and suffering that people must have endured before personalized preventative medicine became common. Preventative medicine, okay? Also, I'll admit, between you and I, if I had to live this way, I prefer not to live, because living this way is not living. This is not life as we know it. But, excuse me, a group of people came along and said, no, just a few, very few people at the top is saying, not even at the top, just a few people, basically, came along and came up with this idea that we should be living this way. And they're justifying it, there's the word, justifying it by saving nature. We're going to save the planet. But who broke it in the first place? So I read a tweet a couple of days ago that China is responsible for a huge number, I don't remember the exact percentage, of all the contamination that's occurred on the planet. So, who did it? Not pointing necessarily to China alone, of course, the US is also responsible, and Canada, the developed world. Also, I'll admit that it sounds gross, but it's a good thing the municipality samples our fecal matter from the sewage pipes. It's part of the platform to analyze data on nutritional diversity, gut bacteria, and antibiotic use to aid with public health screening and fight antibiotic-resistant strains of bacterial infections. Supposedly, the next download for my smart sink will allow me to choose a personalized biotic mix for my dechlorinated drinking water. Today's microbiome breakdown is displayed on the front of my fridge as I enter the kitchen. It's tracking a steady shift as I approach middle age. Today, it suggests miso soup as part of my breakfast because my biome needs more diversity as a result of recent stress and not eating well last night. The buildings in my neighborhood share a vertical farm, so I get carbon credits by eating miso made from soybeans produced on my roof and fermented by my fridge. My fridge schedules the production of more miso and some kimchi in preparation for the coming week. It also adds immune-boosting ingredients to my grocery order because we are approaching flu season, and a strain that I'm likely to be susceptible to has been detected only a few blocks away. I take my smart supplement, which just popped out of my bioprinter. The supplement adjusts the additional nutrients and microbes I need and sends data about my body back to my bioprinter to adjust more supplement. The feedback loop between me and my bioprinter also cloud stores daily data for future and preventative health metrics. The real-time monitoring of my triglycerides is important given my genetic markers. As my coffee pours, I check my daughter's latest school project, which has been growing on the counter for the past week. She's growing a liver for a local puppy in need as part of her empathy initiative at school. More stem cells are on the way to start a kidney too, because she wants to help more animals. I grab my coffee, brewed it with a new certified carbon negative bean variety, and sit on the couch for a minute. It appears the nutrient treatment I had painted on the surface of the couch and chairs has allowed them to rejuvenate. I'll have to try the treatment on my bio-printed running shoes. Getting some on my foot here, on my foot and my eye and my foot as well. I'll have to try the treatment on my bio-printed running shoes as they're starting to wear out. And not only is my foot getting stung, it's getting numb. Oh, wow, is that the time? I have only 10 minutes before my first virtual meeting. I tighten the belt on my skeletal-muscular strength chair, lean back, and log into my workspace. First, I get the debrief from colleagues finishing their work day on the other side of the world. I shiver momentarily as I think about how intimately we're all connected in this digital biosphere. Then it passes. Let the day begin. Digital biosphere. Star Trek coming to mind? Digital biosphere. Okay. So this story may sound far-fetched, however, all the technologies mentioned exist in some form today. Good to know. While they are not yet commercially available in the form presented here, a world where we take the interaction between biological and digital technologies for granted is already started to emerge. Gee. And what was the reset again? Where did it start? What is the vaccine exactly? You think about that. What new capabilities arise from biodigital convergence? Okay, so I did a lot of reading. So there's a summary here. So change human beings, our bodies, minds, and behaviors, change or create other organisms, alter ecosystems, sense, store, process, and transmit information, manage biological innovation, structure and manage production and supply chain. Here you go. A good little summary. Altering our genome, our core biological attributes and characteristics, the new ways to change human beings, our bodies, minds, and behaviors. What new capabilities are opening up? What combinations of biological and digital technologies allow this? What is possible today? The world's first babies to have their genome edited born in China. This is on your government website. This is not conspiracy theory. Molecular biology enhanced by tools from computer sciences. Okay, so altering the human genome or core biological attributes and characteristics. So I just said about the CRISPR, the gene editing of newborns. So advances in gene sequencing and editing, such as CRISPR and Cas9, machine learning helps scientists predict which genes to target for editing. But there you go. So you have preventative measures taken, the thought police, so to prevent crimes. Here you have the gene police to prevent supposedly disease and transmission of disease by genes, your kids. Monitoring and altering and manipulating human thoughts and behaviors. There you go. Newer technologies read brain signals to monitor attention and manage fatigue. And that's all it's going to do. Take my word for it. Digital apps can help enhance brain health. We already have that. New ways to monitor, manage, and influence bodily functions, as well as predict, diagnose, and treat disease. Gene sequencing entire samples helps us understand complex environments such as human microbiome. Okay. So 3D printing, and so there is a very long list of sections here that you will find very, very, very interesting. What are possible characteristics of biodigital systems? Decentralization. Okay, so this was all read in the summary. Okay, so as I said, I didn't read this. Definitely going to do so. The rest of it. It touches every aspect of our lives. Every aspect of our lives. So just the very end here, policy-related questions arising from biodigital convergence. So there is social, environmental, geopolitical, governance, and the conclusion here. We could be on the cusp of a long-term biodigital transformation of our economy, society, institutions, and environment. This biodigital convergence could disrupt the way we produce and consume goods and services related to one another, maintain and augment our bodies, acquire and process data, make decisions, and manage our place in ecosystems. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Canadians and policymakers began to understand that the digital age was upon us. And okay, so we just close it off here. Early movers seize opportunities, blah, blah. And their references and the list of names of the team that came up with the project, with this article. Okay, so definitely I should bookmark this. So we're at it. Done. And yeah, so there you go. How long was that? 52 minutes. So as I said, I'm going to download all my data. So the difference between doing this and having instrumentation inside your bodies is that when you put it inside your body, you don't have control. Like I could take this off. If you put a chip in your body, you can't take it out, right? So I will post that link for you and the data. Talk to you another time.